Is Todd Blanche's nomination to be the Attorney General hanging on by a thread? And will the Epstein scandal and its cover-up in the Situation Room and otherwise, led by Todd Blanche, be his final undoing? We've got some new reporting related to James Comer on the Oversight Committee, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, and what he did after he met with those brave Epstein survivors, including Dani Benski, who I recently interviewed. In fact, I interviewed back-to-back Dani Benski and Senator Sheldon Whitehouse about what the Epstein scandal will do to Todd Blanche's candidacy and whether the Epstein survivors can ever obtain justice while Todd Blanche is heading or inside the Department of Justice. I'm Michael Popok. You're on the MeidasTouch Network and Legal AF, and let's get down to the new reporting. Alan Dershowitz. Yes, Alan Dershowitz, professor emeritus at Harvard, but more to the point, besides working on the OJ trial, he was also the personal lawyer for Jeffrey Epstein, helped negotiate that sweetheart deal back in 2007 and 2008 that kept him on the street conducting a child sex trafficking ring while he got a sweetheart deal to spend very little time in the Palm Beach County, Florida jail. That was all because of this guy named Alan Dershowitz. Alan Dershowitz, who was originally accused by Virginia Giuffre of having sexually abused her. Now, she eventually retracted that. The problem with Virginia Giuffre's testimony is she was abused by so many men and predators within Jeffrey Epstein's inner circle that she got confused. That doesn't mean that Dershowitz is covered himself with any glory. Julie K. Brown, the intrepid reporter for the Miami Herald, who broke the story about Epstein, she, on one of our shows, said it was Dershowitz himself who abused and attacked people who were Epstein survivors, accused them of being transactional opportunists. We're talking about girls and young women. In fact, he still does that. I'm going to show you a clip of a recent interview with Dershowitz in the last 3 days.
Committee Chair James Comer to ask about you and your willingness to testify, and I got this response, quote, "The House Oversight Committee will speak with anyone who has information about the federal government's handling of the Epstein and Maxwell cases and their crimes," end quote. He also sent me a phone number to give to you if you want to testify. I won't give it over the air, but I'd be happy to. So it seems like I may have gotten you a date to come to Capitol Hill.
I'm thrilled. I'm happy. They don't want me to testify because they have a narrative. Their narrative is that every single woman who came forward is a victim and a survivor. Total nonsense. The vast majority of them were transactional, sex for money people who made their own decisions. They were adults. They were 25. They were 30. Some of them then went out and recruited other people for more money. Some of them never even met Jeffrey Epstein. There are some real victims, but they're very few, the very underage ones.
But after meeting with Comer, meeting with a series of Epstein survivors, including Dani Benski, who I interviewed in the last several days, he's now issued a demand that Alan Dershowitz come forward and testify before the House Oversight Committee. They just got done with Bill Gates. And Bill Gates has got a big problem. He spent 40 years building up his career, and in one relationship, showing his true colors, destroyed it. Nobody believes Bill Gates' opening statement or testimony that I wasn't on the island, I wasn't at the ranch, I wasn't at the apartment. You were on the plane. You were on the plane. And why would Jeffrey Epstein write an email, which you allege was unsent, that suggested that you contracted a sexual transmitted diseases from Russian women and girls that were conscripted and captured by Epstein to be a part of a child sex trafficking ring? Why would that be in there? You know who doesn't believe him? His former wife, Melinda French Gates. She said that as soon as she met Epstein, she was so creeped out by him that she had nightmares afterwards and always suspected that her husband was doing bad things and inappropriate things with Epstein. That was one of the reasons for the divorce. Now, let's turn to the meeting with James Comer. Little reported private meeting, at least he's conducting meetings, as the chair of the House Oversight Committee. In attendance, Dani Benski. Epstein survivor. And what we know from the meeting, both from Dani Benski and otherwise, is that they made a case. They literally presented emails and evidence from the Epstein files, from the very files that Donald Trump's own administration has released, asking the pertinent question. There was a spreadsheet created in July of 2025 to go after 14 different men, including on the list, Dershowitz and Clinton. Whatever happened to it? Why didn't the FBI continue to pursue it? Now, that date on the timeline is really important because now we know that in July of 2025, it's all putting the pieces together now. The Trump senior leadership led by Todd Blanche and J.D. Vance were meeting in the Situation Room at the same time, trying to figure out not how to release all the files, not how to do justice and dignity for the Epstein survivors, but how to conduct a cover-up at the highest levels. It's such a cover-up that one of the participants in it, or unwilling participants in it, Dan Bongino, then the deputy director of the FBI, said this is going to be Donald Trump's Iran-Contra. If it's Donald Trump's Iran-Contra cover-up, then it falls at the feet of Todd Blanche, who's now going to be asked those hard questions in his confirmation hearing. Here's Dani Benski in a recent interview with me in the last couple of days about that very meeting and her belief that there's no justice while Todd Blanche is still inside the Department of Justice. Play the clips. You said you felt sort of a bit of relief that you weren't crazy and the things that you said were going on in the cover-up have now been confirmed and revealed.
Yeah.
Talk me through that for you.
I mean, it's amazing and validating on one hand because it absolutely confirms everything that we already knew. We already felt that right? That we're like, they're sitting on all this information. Why hasn't one investigation even been started? It wasn't even started yet. There's also a piece of it that's like just absolutely infuriating. And it feels like we're banging our head against the wall because we're in Congress all the time talking to Republicans and Democrats alike and sharing our stories and saying there's a lot to see here. Please do something. And it makes me feel like, in the House and in the Senate, it doesn't really matter what we do because we're always stopped by the DOJ. And so it really isn't partisan. Like we had an amazing meeting with Comer this week. And it was one of those meetings that he heard us, and I really respected his chief of staff. We've had many conversations with him before. And he walked away and he actually did really listen. And I think there was an act of good faith that happened after that by calling Alan Dershowitz in. And he did say that it won't just be transcribed. It will be filmed. It'll be under oath. And those are things that we were really pushing hard for. So I do feel like he was listening and heard us. But we get into this vicious cycle, I think, of we feel heard, we feel like we're going to get somewhere, we call these people in, they perjure themselves. And then we're like, okay, we caught them in a lie. What do we do now? And it's like, well, we can pull them back in. And it's like, okay, pulling them back in, then what does that do? And it's like, well, there's always the last stop is always going to be the DOJ. And so when you have somebody like Todd Blanche at the helm of the DOJ, it's hugely problematic, right? Like he has the president's best interest. He does not have the American people's best interest at heart. And he's proven that. He was in that Situation Room. He needs to be called in and questioned. He needs to be in front of the Oversight Committee now to answer, how, we also know that he was responsible for so many botched redactions and how this rollout even happened. And botched is an understatement, by the way. But he's responsible for a lot of this. I mean, Bondi, I'm not letting her off the hook. She definitely had something to do with this too. But we know that Todd Blanche had a lot to do with this, and he moved Ghislaine Maxwell. So there's so many things here that come back to Blanche, and now he is the nomination. And that's he's so unfit to be the acting attorney general of our country. I can't even, my brain words fail me. So no, it would be a disqualifying event in any other life and time. This is the CNN reporting about the meeting that you've identified that you went to. And if there's anything not right about the reporting, you see if you can correct it. How's that sound? Yeah.
It says the group, which you were a part of, brought documents from the DOJ's released Epstein files, including an email detailing a list of men from the late convicted sex offender's orbit, as well as Joffrey's 2015 testimony to investigators to help the Republican chairman refine his own probe and to argue that there are allegations against powerful men that the Justice Department could pursue. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting. It says that the survivors presented Comer a partially redacted set of emails from July 2025 that showed FBI officials were aware of an email discussing building out a spreadsheet of allegations against more than a dozen men.
Yes.
Take these names and build out a new spreadsheet, said the redacted individual in one of the emails. And the list includes some who have previously testified in the committee, like Bill Clinton and Les Wexner, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, and President Donald Trump. Is that accurate?
Yes. And there's also like Bill Barr is on that list. There are quite a few people on that list that really, I mean, you name it. It's like, wow. It's everybody that we've been saying, but this is where everybody screams at us all the time. Give us a list, the names. Like, we're like literally just like open the files and read the files. And so this email is one of those files that has, and it was internal in the FBI. They were already starting to investigate them. What happened is the question.
And what was his reaction when he was confronted with this, with a group of very authentic survivors, who are, right? That he can't just ignore them away. He can't just bear, you are real people who were really sexually abused and are here for justice. What was his reaction? Like his body language or his facial expressions?
I mean, the fact that he acknowledges that there are real, true investigative leads was everything to me. And I think to the people in that room.
Oh, have you ever actually looked at the ingredient list on your dog's food? After that first ingredient, well, good luck. You see, kibble is made using extreme high heat to keep its shelf stable and inexpensive. So brands have to add back synthetic vitamins and minerals in the form of strange chemicals whose names you don't understand and definitely cannot pronounce. Is that really what you want your dog eating? Sundays for Dogs is different. They start with more than 80% all natural meats and then finish with superfoods like kale, ginger, and blueberries, and gently air dries them instead of using high heat. Sundays doesn't look or smell like dog food. It looks like high quality, human grade jerky. No fillers, no nutritional blends, no chemicals, just simple, complete nutrition. Founded by Dr. Tori Waxman, Sundays was created to meet her high standards as a veterinarian and as a dog parent. And the best part, Sundays requires no fridge, no freezer, no prep, no mess. You get the quality of a home-cooked meal with the scoop and serve ease of kibble. It's what dog food should have been all along. Over 100,000 dogs are eating Sundays, and the reviews speak for themselves, especially from owners of picky eaters who had never seen their dog get this excited about mealtime before, like my Lily. Make the switch to Sundays. Go right now to sundaysfordogs.com/legalaf50 and get 50% off your first order. Or you can use code legalaf50 at checkout. That's 50% off your first order at sundaysfordogs.com/legalaf50. One more time, sundaysfordogs.com/legalaf50, or use code legalaf50 at checkout. Now, I had the opportunity, perfect timing, exquisite timing here on MeidasTouch and Legal AF. Did I mention you're on MeidasTouch and Legal AF? Take a minute, hit the free subscribe button. Help us to continue to grow our pro-democracy channel on Legal AF YouTube channel. That I had in the last 24 hours, 48 hours, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. Complete interview for both Dani Benski and Sheldon Whitehouse are in the notes below. And I asked him, in fact, before he got on the air, not that I have to give a senator a pep talk, but I said our audience is demanding that you come loaded for bear, that you throw hurting bombs Todd Blanche's way, that you go through methodically and meticulously the dozens of reasons that are disqualifiers for Todd Blanche ever being the Attorney General, the anti-weaponization fund creation, courts looking at whether there's been fraud on the court and deceit, courts dismissing indictments for vindictive prosecution, his role in the Epstein cover-up, his role in prosecuting the Southern Poverty Law Center, his leadership role in going after James Comey for seashells on a beach, all have to be answered to. And we talked about, will this Epstein scandal back up on Todd Blanche? And here's what Sheldon Whitehouse had to say about that. Play Senator Whitehouse.
You start with the Epstein files, which is still a hugely charged issue among Republicans. And you've got him being thrown under the bus by Pam Bondi as the person who botched the release of the files. You've got 1,000 or so suspicious activity reports from Treasury about the Epstein accounts. And even though they're called suspicious activity reports, nobody at the Department of Justice under Blanche ever looked for anything suspicious in them. They weren't investigated. And you've got, which the victims are watching very closely, you've got the FBI notes of the interview with the girl who at age 15 said she was physically assaulted by Donald Trump and sexually assaulted by Donald Trump. And we know that those documents are out there and they haven't been produced. So all of that and more makes the Epstein saga, as I said, a stinking pile of baggage for Blanche to take through the hearing.
Now let's pull it all together. It looks like it's going to be about July 15th or so for the Blanche confirmation hearing. We will put it up live as a live stream. We'll get a couple 100,000 people, I assure you, over on Legal AF YouTube channel. And from now until then, we need to work the senators. You need to write to your senator and tell them, especially if they're on the Judiciary Committee, what you want to have happen. Todd Blanche should be cross-examined to within an inch of his professional life before he leaves that room. No stone unturned, no question unasked. And don't let him off the hook if he starts pointing his crooked finger at you. And don't let him get away with some sort of burned book like Pam Bondi. We've seen him. He wants this job desperately. He'll say and do anything to get it. But we got to be prepared for it. And the question is Todd Blanche's role, including his volunteering to do as Sheldon Whitehouse told me, to do a little footsie with Ghislaine Maxwell up at a Tallahassee prison before she was rewarded with a puppy in a book club in a cushy, low-risk penitentiary, Club Fed in Texas. Yeah, who's responsible for that? Everything Epstein, according to Pam Bondi, was the responsibility of Todd Blanche. So it lays at his feet. We'll continue to follow it all right here, the way we always have, on MeidasTouch and Legal AF. Until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.